So let's talk about how we can view scan results and get information from certain trends. So if we click on scans and then we click recent scans, we can see all of the scans that we've run in the past in NetSparker. And let's scroll down a little bit and select a particular scan report. So now we're going to view the results of a specific scan that was run. And the first thing that we see is the scan summary. And the scan summary just gives us a high level overview of the vulnerabilities that were found. And so we can see that during this scan of this particular site, NetSparker uncovered 4 critical vulnerabilities, 8 high, and 3 medium. And if we scroll down, we get into the technical details. And this shows us all the different specific issues which NetSparker uncovered during the scan. If we click on one of these issues, a more detailed report opens up on the right-hand side. And first of all, we see this confirm stamp on this vulnerability. When you see this stamp, you can be 100% confident that the vulnerability exists and your team doesn't have to manually confirm it. And to drive that point home, we provide the proof of exploit with certain types of vulnerabilities where it's possible and safe to do so. And so with this vulnerability, the SQL injection vulnerability, we've actually gone in and read some data from the database and then presented that data here in the report, the database version and the user and the database name. When we exploit these vulnerabilities, we always do so in a safe way. So with SQL injection vulnerabilities, we do read onlys. We never, when we find a SQL injection vulnerability, write anything to the database. But in this case, we have read some data from the database and presented it in the report. And so your teams can see this and they can be 100% confident that the vulnerability exists. We know that it's real because NetSparker was able to exploit it, and so attackers will likely be able to exploit it as well. And there are more details here as well for technical users, like the impact of the vulnerability and actions that we can take to resolve it. Now, NetSparker will also allow us to export this scan result. So for example, if I click on this export button here, I can export different types of reports. So I can export a detailed scan report, which is going to give me a lot of technical details. I can export an executive summary report, which is really going to be for high level business users who don't need the granular technical details. And I can exploit various types of compliance reports. And I can also export WAF rules. So if I have a web application firewall, I can export information about the scan to my firewall, and the firewall will attempt to block these types of attacks while my team works to remediate them at a code level. Now, we don't just have to look at individual scans, we can also step up a little higher and look at broader trends. So if we select websites here, and we click this website's link, I'm going to select this Nucleus website. And here I see a dashboard overview for this Nucleus website. Now, the dashboard is highly customizable. We can look at a dashboard for a specific website, we can look at a dashboard for a group, or we can look at a dashboard which covers all groups. And so here I'm looking at the dashboard for just the Nucleus website. And if I click this trend matrix report, this will allow me to see the types of vulnerabilities that we've uncovered over time. And so I can see here, for example, the life cycle of these different vulnerabilities. And so if I take a look at this remote file inclusion vulnerability, I can see that it was first discovered and then it went unfixed for a while. And then finally it was fixed by the team, but it resurfaced again. And so this information is helpful because it allows me to glean whether or not vulnerabilities are being fixed, and if they're being fixed, whether or not they're staying fixed, and how long it is taking to fix them. And of course, all this information can be exported via CSV and then delivered to the relevant stakeholders within the organization. Now let's take a look at a couple other reporting features. If I click on reporting over here on the left-hand side, and I click this link, this is going to allow me to generate some charts in the trend data. And so I can choose the time range for which this report is going to apply. And I can also choose what types of vulnerabilities we're going to include in the report, whether we're only going to include critical vulnerabilities, for example, or whether we're going to include all vulnerabilities which are medium and above in severity. And I can also choose which website group these vulnerabilities are going to apply to. And after I've configured these settings here, I can choose what type of chart or report I'm going to generate. And so this allows me to generate a very high level chart, which shows the trend of vulnerabilities over time for a specific website group, which I can then report to different stakeholders and members of the organization. Now, if I click on this issue section and I click on all issues, this will also allow me to see the vulnerabilities which NetSparker has uncovered. And I could filter this table by several different factors. And so in this case, I'm going to filter by website name. And I only want to see the vulnerabilities which are related to the site nucleus. And so this filter is going to be applied. And now I can only see the vulnerabilities related to this specific website. And so if I want to, I can then export this information to a CSV file and it can be sent out to different members of the team. So that is the broad overview of our reporting features. And as you can see, NetSparker makes it very easy for us to glean information about the kinds of vulnerabilities that we've uncovered, both at a very low level for highly technical users who need to remediate those issues, as well as at a very high level for business intelligence users who don't need all the details, but who want to see broader overall trends.